37% in a single day. That is not a crash. That is an execution. Friday morning, January 30th, 2026. Silver was trading at $121. Then it crashed to $75. $46 erased in just 6 hours. Gold dropped from $5,600 to $4,700. $900 gone. And here is the thing. On the news, they told you it was because of Kevin Warsh. They said the new Fed nominee spooked the bond market. They said it was about interest rates. That is the cover story. Because no one sells 37% of their portfolio in 6 hours just because of a nomination. No war started that day. No pandemic emerged. No bank collapsed. My portfolio went red. My coffee went cold. And nobody told me the truth. But I found out why. And it is the same reason it happened in 1980. The same reason it happened in 2011. And now, 2026. 3 times in 50 years. Same pattern. Same tool. Same destruction. This is not some conspiracy theory. This is documented history. And you are about to see it clearly. Let me walk you through what actually happened. Friday morning, last trading day of January. Last trading day of the week. Silver is sitting at $121. January had been the best month for silver in decades. 65% gains in just 30 days. Everyone was bullish. Analysts were calling for $200, even $300. Social media was euphoric. Everyone thought they had bought the dip at the right time. Then 9:30 a.m. hits. New York opens. Within seconds, a tsunami of sell orders floods the market. And these were not retail traders taking some profits. This was institutional size. Massive blocks. Millions of ounces being dumped simultaneously. Silver drops from 121 to 115, then to 110. Then it breaks below 100. That psychological level, everyone said, would hold forever. Gone. Blown through in minutes. But it did not stop there. 95. 90. 85. 80. Stop losses triggering everywhere. Margin calls flooding in. Traders were being liquidated whether they wanted to sell or not. The system was selling for them. By close, silver was at $75. 6 hours. 37%. Hundreds of billions in value just erased. And the question everyone is asking is simple. What happened? What changed? The answer they gave you was market correction. That is a lie. Here is what actually happened. Watch the 60 days before Friday. Pay close attention to the dates. December 12th. Silver is surging, making headlines everywhere. The CME Group, the exchange that controls silver futures trading, raises margin requirements by 10%. December 29th. Silver keeps climbing. CME raises margins again, this time aggressive. A 25% jump overnight with no warning. December 30th, the very next day. Less than 24 hours later, they raise margins again. 2 hikes in 2 days. January 28th, just 3 days before the crash. They do it again. This time, they change the entire system, moving from fixed dollar amounts to percentage-based margins. 9% becomes 11%. For riskier accounts, it goes up to 12.1%. 4 margin hikes in 6 weeks. 80% total increase. Now here is what that actually means. Margin is the cash you need in your account to hold a futures position. It is your collateral. When you buy silver futures, you do not pay the full price up front. You put up a fraction of it. That is how leverage works. But when they raise margin requirements, every trader holding a position suddenly needs more cash. Not next week. Not when it is convenient. Immediately. Today. Right now. And if you cannot deposit that extra money within hours, your position gets liquidated. Sold. No negotiation, no appeal. You are just out. Picture this. Your landlord calls you right now and tells you your rent just went up 80%. And you have until tonight to pay, or you are getting evicted. That is essentially the call that went out to every silver trader in America at the same time. Your account needs 80% more cash. Deposit it in the next few hours, or we are selling you out. Most people do not have that kind of money just sitting around. They cannot pay. So they get liquidated, forced to sell whether they want to or not. And when thousands of leveraged traders are forced to sell at the exact same time, what do you think happens to the price? It does not just decline, it collapses. It crashes 37% in a single day. This was not the market finding fair value. This was not a bubble popping naturally. This was the CME pulling a trigger. And here is what should really disturb you. They have pulled this exact trigger before. 1980, silver runs from $6 all the way to $50, an 800% gain in just a few months. Regular people are making fortunes. What was the response? The CME creates something called Silver Rule 7, which essentially bans leverage buying overnight. You want silver? Fine. But you have to pay 100% cash, no margin allowed. The result? Silver crashes from $50 all the way down to $10, 80% destruction. 2011, silver runs from $8 to $50, a 600% gain. Retail traders are piling in everywhere. What was the response? The CME raises margin requirements 5 times in 9 days. 5 times in just 9 days. That is an 84% increase. The result? Silver crashes from 50 to 26, 50% gone in a matter of weeks. And now here we are in 2026. Silver runs from $26 to $121, a 450% gain, the biggest rally in modern history. What was the response? CME raises margins 4 times in 6 weeks. The result? Silver crashes 37% in a single day. The fastest destruction of the 3. Once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. But here is where it gets even stranger. The price on the screen says $75. So I grabbed my phone. Time to buy the dip, right? Silver on sale. I call my dealer, the guy I have been buying from for years. I expect him to be busy, but I don't expect him to sound scared. His voice was shaking. He says, "Barry, I can't sell to you. My shelves are empty. But worse, I can't buy from you either." I say, "What do you mean? The price crashed. You should be flooded with inventory." He says, "The price on the screen is fake, Barry, but my risk is real. I can't hedge. If I buy your silver and the paper price drops another $10, I'm bankrupt. The market is broken. We are frozen." So I go online, check the big dealers. Same story everywhere. Either sold out or premiums are absurd. Let me say that again. The paper price on the screen dropped $46. But if you want to hold a real bar of silver, the premium just shot up by $15. The paper price crashed, but the cost to own reality just hit an all-time high. This is the Great Divergence. Paper silver and physical silver are not the same thing anymore. Paper can be created with a keystroke. Paper can be crushed with margin hikes. Paper can be manipulated anytime they choose. But physical silver cannot be printed. It cannot be margin called. It exists in the real world completely independent of their control. And while the paper price was crashing, something else was happening. Let me show you the Great Divergence. America, Friday afternoon. Panic selling. Futures contracts being dumped. Forced liquidations. Price crashes on COMEX. China, same day. Shanghai vaults drained 27 tons of silver in a single week. Not sold on the market, removed from the vault. Physical delivery to buyers who wanted the actual metal in their hands. This has been happening for months now. While Western investors trade paper contracts back and forth, Chinese buyers keep taking physical delivery. The vaults keep draining. The metal keeps moving east. America dumps paper contracts. China takes delivery of actual metal. America crashes the price. China says, "Thank you for the discount." One side is trading promises and IOUs on computer screens. The other side is loading trucks with actual bars of silver. Which side do you think really understands what silver is worth? And it is not just silver. China now controls 60 to 70% of global silver refining. On January 1st of this year, they classified silver as a strategic national security resource. They put export controls on it, same category as military materials. Meanwhile, central banks around the world are making a choice. In January alone, they sold $48 billion worth of U.S. Treasuries. $48 billion in just 1 month. And they bought 800 tons of gold. For the first time in modern history, gold now represents a larger share of central bank reserves than U.S. Treasury bonds. Central banks around the world now trust a metal more than they trust America's promise to pay. The dollar index had been falling for months, from 110 all the way down to 95.55, a 4-year low, the weakest dollar since 2022. And when the dollar falls, gold and silver rise. But something critical happened at 95. Right at that 4-year low, the dollar stopped falling. It found a bottom and started to reverse. And metals crashed at that exact same moment. The margin hikes created the forced selling. The forced selling crashed the price. And the dollar reversal gave everyone a convenient cover story. This was coordination, the system defending itself on multiple fronts at the same time. So here is my question. If silver truly did not matter, why do they do this? Why raise margins 4 times in 6 weeks? Why run the exact same playbook 3 times in 50 years? Why does the CME care so much about the price of a metal? They say it is risk management. They say it is for market stability. They say they are protecting traders. But look at what happened Friday. Traders got absolutely destroyed. Billions in losses. Accounts completely wiped out. Years of gains gone in hours. They are not protecting traders. They are protecting something else entirely. The dollar, the system, the narrative that paper money actually works. And that brings me to why I am not selling. My portfolio is down 37%. My coffee is cold. The paper price says I just lost a fortune. But here are 3 things I know for certain. Number 1. The fundamentals did not change Friday. Not one bit. Silver has been in a supply deficit for 5 consecutive years now. Every single year since 2021, more silver has been consumed than mined. The cumulative deficit is over 800 million ounces. Industrial demand is exploding. Solar panels, electric vehicles, electronics, AI, data centers, military systems, they all need silver. And that demand grows every single year. Meanwhile, supply cannot keep up. Production costs keep rising. It is getting harder and more expensive to pull silver out of the ground. Demand rising. Supply constrained. Deficit growing. None of that changed because of one crash. The deficit is still there. The demand is still growing. The supply is still constrained. Number 2. History says this is temporary. After the 1980 crash, silver eventually recovered. After 2011, silver eventually recovered. Both times, it went on to make new highs. They can suppress prices. They have the tools to do it, but they can suppress prices. They cannot suppress value forever. Eventually, physical reality wins out. Number 3. I own metal, not paper. They can crash the paper price. They cannot crash the metal itself. They can liquidate futures contracts. They cannot liquidate physical silver sitting in my safe. They can manipulate markets, but they cannot manipulate reality forever. And honestly, the fact that they keep doing this tells me everything I need to know. You do not fight this hard against something that does not matter. The intensity of the attack tells you the value of the target. Friday was not a crash. It was a message. A reminder of who controls the paper markets. A demonstration of power. But it was also something else. It was confirmation. Confirmation that silver still matters. That precious metals still threaten the system. that after 50 years of fiat money and unlimited printing, they still have not figured out how to make gold and silver irrelevant. So my portfolio is down 37%. My coffee is cold. But I am not selling, because I do not own paper promises. I own physical metal. And they can margin call a futures contract, but they can't margin call the silver sitting in my safe. Control what you can control, not the price on the screen, but whether you own paper or metal. Oh, my portfolio, but not my silver.